So Delphi decided not to help. The other dance studio was still empty. She'd go and warm up there instead. As she turned away, she started in surprise. Madame Zaza was watching her from the doorway of her office just down the corridor. "Madame Zaza," Delphi said. Madame Zaza expression cleared. "Hello, Delphi," she said, walking towards her. "How are you?" "Fine, thank you." Delphi felt a bit embarrassed. "Are you going in to warm up with Rosa before class?" her teacher went on. Delphi's cheeks reddened slightly. I thought I might go in the other dance studio." "Oh." For a moment, Madame Zaza didn't say anything, but then she glanced at Delphi. "Everyone deserves a chance, Delphi," she said quietly. "I would have thought you would have realized that." Delphi stared. It was as if Madame Zaza had read her mind, seen her thoughts about Rosa, and not wanting to help her. "But I'll see you in class in 10 minutes, Madame Zaza said as she turned to go back to her office. Delphi walked slowly into the other dance studio, thinking about the look on Madame Zaza's face. Did she think Delphi was being horrible? She hated the thought that she had disappointed her dance teacher in some way, but she felt too awkward now to go in and talk to Rosa. Trying not to dwell on what had just happened, Delphi went to the bar, moved her feet into second position and began to slowly bend and straighten her knees. When her class finally started, she kept watching Rosa. She knew her best friends Poppy and Lola thought the new girl was just shy. "She's not shy," thought Delphi. "She's just unfriendly." But when Delphi went to bed that night, she was still thinking about it, and she couldn't get the disappointed expression on Madame Zaza's face out of her mind. Maybe she should give Rosa more of a chance. "I'll see what she's like tomorrow," Delphi decided. When Delphi arrived at the ballet school the next day, Rosa was already in the studio practicing pas de chat, and she was still having problems. Delphi hesitated. What should she do? Suddenly, her feet began to tingle. She looked down. Her red ballet shoes were glowing. She was about to go to Enchantia. Chapter 2. A Thorny Problem. A rainbow of swirling colours surrounded Delphi and swept her away. Round and round she spun, up in the air, until she was set down onto firm ground and the colours faded. As Delphi looked around her, she saw she was standing in front of a massive thicket of trees and thorny brambles. There were no houses or people. How strange! The shoes usually brought her to Enchantia when there was a problem to solve, but she couldn't see how she was needed this time. "Hello!" she called. No one answered, so she began to walk into the trees. The thorns caught at her clothes and she tripped over tree roots on the ground. It was strangely quiet in the forest. No birds were singing and there were no animals to be seen. Delphi pushed on until she reached a wall of brambles so thick that there was no way through. She sank down on a tree stump in frustration. What was she going to do now? Then suddenly there was a tinkling noise behind her. Delphi looked round and saw a beautiful balerina appear in a shimmering haze. Dressed in a lilac tutu with a sparkling bodice, her brown hair was caught up in a diamond tiara. The ballerina's arms were held high above her head, and she was carrying a wand in her right hand. The wings on her back were almost see-through and glinted with faint rainbow colours, but they weren't pretend wings like on a costume. Delphi realised they were real. "Delphi!" the fairy cried. "I'm so glad you've come." "Hi, who are you?" Delphi couldn't help smiling at her. "I'm the Lilac Fairy from the Sleeping Beauty, Lila for short," the fairy answered. "I'm one of Princess Aurelia's fairy godmothers. I've heard all about you from Aurelia and the Sugar Plum Fairy. Oh, Delphi, we're in real trouble," she cried. "The royal palace has been covered with thorns, and it's now hidden behind these brambles. Everyone in the palace is asleep, including Aurelia. She'll only wake up when a prince, her one true love, kisses her." "Of course," Delphi breathed, remembering the story of Sleeping Beauty. Lila went on. "At Aurelia's christening, the king and queen forgot to invite the wicked fairy, but she came